Hello, and welcome to the Dungeon Masters Guild House. This is a weekly podcast where I, your host, Matthew Whitby, sit down with people all across the DMsGuild and tabletop RPG space. And this week, I am absolutely honored to be joined by V.J Harris. Hello.
Hi.
Hey,
Thanks for having me.
No, again, I'm excited. Oh, again, I'm always again. I feel like this sort of any sort of excitement that I get with my guests is like it's like infectious. It's like now I'm buzzing. This is going to be a really good chat. I'm looking forward to it. And let's not dilly dally because that's one thing I'm known for. For the people kind of listening, then if they haven't encountered any of your products before, what sort of things are you known for?
I'm definitely known for like more mechanic things. So big thing, An Elephant and Orc Baby, which in Adam Hancock, breaking down all of the races in D&D and like separating them based on parentage and upbringing so that you have more customization options when it comes to that, and to like try and remove some of the more harmful elements of it from like the game. But also I have a couple other things. Like I've got like a supplement out that like talks about exorcisms and whatnot with like incorporeal undead, so ghosts, gas, that kind of thing, which is getting a revamp because like it got a review kind of semi-recently and last year, and it was a very harsh review, but it was a good one. It was fair, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna go back and revisit that. But definitely mostly mechanics. I have been on a couple of projects where like I either created like a setting place. So like I was a part of the Odyssey anthology, and I created like an island and some adventures players could go on in there, or like just adding bits and pieces to other like adventure anthologies like Fight to the Top, but mostly mechanics.
So then I guess the kind of question stemming from that then is what is it about mechanics that is like a draw for you?
What is it? Honestly, you know what it is? So like, I guess from the mechanic side of thing, I don't really have to have a story to tell for it. Like for like monsters and stuff, like monsters, races and whatnot, there's a little story to tell, like backgrounds on them, maybe some additional lore, but like I don't have to have like a full-fledged out like beginning to end story for it. And as much as I do like that, I found myself a lot more lately since I started like writing for the DMsGuild, not having like I just really don't have like haven't had a fully fledged out story to tell yet. And so just being able to have like little short bursts of things I can do and not have to figure out, what's a story from 1 to 12th level has been really is really good for me right now.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say, because what I kind of find fascinating about so Restless is the name of like the exorcism product. What?
Correct.
I mean, it feels like, again, I don't know. It feels like anytime there are like ghosts and ghouls and stuff like that, it feels like the go-to response to the party is like, oh, I guess we're going to perform some sort of exorcism. And yeah, right? It's weird that there's not like a system in place that can sort of help people do that. It's not like, I guess you do a ritual check, like a religion check, and then there you go, you've exorcised the ghost. I'm curious. So with that, was it more of like at your sort of like home games and stuff like that, you were encountering exorcisms quite regularly? It was like, a weekly thing.
Well, actually what happened was I at the time I was running 2 different games on a Sunday and a Saturday before like a friend took over the Sunday game. And we were playing through Waterdeep Dragon Heist. Okay. And there's a tavern that you can get in that. Yep. And there is a poltergeist. And it was like, man, I thought about it and I was like, there's not really a lot of options. Like either you leave the poltergeist or you kill him. Yeah. And I'm like, what about a third option? Why can't we like have an exorcism be an option? Why isn't that a thing? Yeah. And then so I looked at exorcism rules, which, as you know, there's none in like any of the official D&D stuff. Yeah. But I did see this blog post where somebody gave like some kind of suggestions. I was like, this does not go far enough, but it's a nice starting point. And so then like I started off with the blog that the person had done. And then after my players had done it, and I was like, okay, this had some like places it could have been better. And I'm like, okay, let me think about that.
So I guess I'm curious, just because I suppose like I honestly I don't really know like the the history of exorcisms, if there is one. I imagine it goes back to like the idea of just like people just assuming that they're possessed by demons, and
I honestly don't know much more about the history besides people think by demons and spirits.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I don't know any of this history to figure out mechanics. Like I've seen enough exorcism in media to get the point, and I was like, okay, so all I need is what's the goal, and then how do we get there?
Yeah, you know, there's someone on a bed, they start levitating, things around the room start flying about. It's like, you know, it's it's like a 3-step process. No, I'm interested then. And then I've actually been in, I guess, a similar situation where based on like a review of one of my products, I actually went back and made like some changes. I'm curious how because I guess there's always almost feels like there's like two schools of thought where it's like once a product is out there, it is out there. You know, it is like almost like a snapshot of the time of release. And then there's also the other thing of like, you know, with again valid, occasionally harsh criticism, you can sort of go back and you know sort of tweak things. What if you don't mind saying, what were some of the sort of suggested changes for Restless?
Yeah, so some of the changes were, like, for example, a lot of it is like giving the creatures different ways that they can interact with the world. Like for what I did with Restless, it was all about like possessing inanimate objects and like animal swarms as well. And they're like, maybe it should be like, instead of like having this instead of just allowing the like entity you're exercising to only be like possessing things, maybe give it other abilities that it's like directly affecting things versus just being able to control things. So stuff like that. Also, like I had a lot of swarms in that book, like a lot. And like looking back now from like my first product that I ever did and published to like from now to then, I'm like, yeah, I need to go back and fix some of those, rebalance them, do different things. Like this stuff needs some work. Like we just need to give it a fine tuning.
Yeah, in fact, that's always the nature, though. I mean, like, yeah, it's always with every like few products, you learn as you go, and then it's looking at those sort of first ones, going, why did I do that? And it's like, well, back then I was young, and you know, I was a toddler armed with a you know,
right.
No, it's interesting. No, yeah. I must admit, I do like those sort of systems in place, because it feels like, at least coming from like an adventure writing standpoint, is you would just create some on the fly sort of like exorcism rules or something to that, like, you know, something of that ilk for like a particular encounter, but to be able to sort of, you know, remove it from a set adventure to be like, listen, this, you know, this was it Troll Skull Villa is, you know, is possessed. Although, is it the villa itself possessed, or is it because it's Sif, isn't it?
So the manor, if I'm remembering correctly, because and I was playing this in like this whole idea came in 2019.
Yeah, we're going back.
Yeah, we're going back. If I remember it correctly, so I think Leaf was possessing Troll Skull Manor, and like, would sometimes do things with the manor, like pipes bursting, that kind of stuff, but then also sometimes be a nuisance on his own.
Yeah.
So like a mixture of the two.
Which, yeah, I feel like, again, the severity of how, was it a poltergeist or any sort of ghost, if they're like, you know, I'm possessing this mug versus I'm in the whole house, it's two very different problems. But then, so I guess, again, and also, so to talk, I guess, more generally as well then, more about, as well, an Elf and Orc Had a Baby, a little bit, which is, again, it's a fantastic product.
My favorite product.
I'm curious then, so what were some of the design decisions that you kind of had to make as you were kind of going through that? Because obviously it's the case of essentially you have to go through all the races all over again, and then try and again almost like divide. And
so like when it happened, So first, Adam and I figured out who was going to handle what races from what books. So like I handled all of the Eberron races because Adam was like, hey, do you know much about that? I was like, I love Eberron. I love the setting. I am like, between the two of us, I am more knowledgeable on the topic, but also I am a baby Eberron fan.
Yeah.
But like, love the topic and like planning something in the future. I've been reading more on. And so like we split up who was doing what, like races and whatnot. So I got Eberron, Ravnica. I think I got Eberron, Ravnica in one other book. And then Eberron, Ravnica, Theros. Okay. Theros, that's what it was. Yeah, I got those. And then Adam had everything else. And so some of the design challenges and like things we really have to answer was, we really wanted to remove ability score improvements from races because like the foreword of the book I wrote, and I was like, hey, we tried to remove some of the bioessentialism from the topic, which bioessentialism is just essentially saying like everyone in one particular race is always going to have like an advantage over any other race on this one thing. And the ASI looked like that very clearly. And I was like, it doesn't matter what your upbringing is. I'm always going to have a +2 if I'm an orc to strength. So like we wanted to do that, but also when you look at the human, there's not a lot going on with it, right? Like it's got the ASI, it's got the variant, but like it doesn't have a lot. So we had to like make a compromise there and like, all right, we'll leave the ASI for the human since it's not like it's from a mechanical standpoint. We're not sure what to give them at this point.
Yeah.
So that was one of the things. Another was like we use this Google Doc called Detect Greater Balance. And like somebody else created it and it's like gotten progressively better since then. Like I went back to look at it for some other reasons. And it helped us break down like point buy system essentially for what all of the racist traits were. And at some points when we like split it down in half, it wasn't really evenly done. And we'd have to figure out, okay, what's the best thing to add to this upbringing? What's the best thing to add to this race? So there was a lot of like finagling with it on that end.
No, because it's funny enough, I had the chance to speak to, Lydia, obviously who did the Half Race Handbook as well. And one of the questions I kind of posed is, were there any sort of almost like race combinations that were proved to be like insanely powerful? Which actually, it's funny as well that you mentioned it because Lydia's approach was also using like essentially a spreadsheet or, a sort of, because I guess it is at the forefront. Balances again, like mechanical balance and stuff like that is kind of pivotal for like, these sorts of things.
Yeah, we really wanted to make sure that each parentage, like we realized that each parentage would fall with like in a range of like 6 to 8. Kind of, some of them a little bit out of that, some of that a little bit in it. And so like at the back of the book, when in like one of the appendixes, I think it's Appendix B, and it talks about like mixing and matching so people could do like 15 generations if they wanted and have a bunch of different wild things going on. Yeah. We were talking about, there's a range. So like the rate, like the parentages, when you put them, like when you have 2 parentages, your point buy should be 11 to 17 points at the outset, but mostly between 13 and 16. And so I think something that's like, I feel like something that would be a really like it's not broken, it's in the point, but it's also stronger than other things would probably be a combination of Yuan Ti, because that race just in general was already like really front loaded with stuff. Yeah. And what is another one? Probably Yuan Ti and Aarakocra if you were going with the wing option.
Fair. Yeah. So like almost like a winged snake.
Pretty much.
Which I mean, in fairness, there is like there's that makes a lot of sense. There's winged snakes all over the place. It's kind of fascinating. And to sort of look at a system in place and just try and what's the word that I'm looking for? There's a fat. No, it's just a really clever way to kind of tackle, one of the problems with sort of, character creation and stuff like that, and being able to sort of create more both, I guess, realistic and more organic characters. To be like, I'm the, my mum was an orc, my dad was a, human, and this is who I am. No, it's a sort of no, charming. Again, I think it's kind of fascinating as well to hear about the sort of series of products that came out in similar vein, but seeing how they each handled it in a quite unique and sort of distinct sort of way.
Oh yeah.
I'm curious about, so how did you handle, because I know that there is some overlap with some of the some of the Theros races, because I think there's Satyr in Theros, but I think there's Satyr in somewhere else as well. I don't know if I'm remembering it.
Wait, I think there's Minotaur and Centaur in both Theros and Ravnica.
Okay, there you go, yeah.
Wait, Centaur's not in Ravnica, but like the Minotaur and the Centaur from Theros is in other things as well. So there's one in Ravnica and then one somewhere else, and I don't know.
But then with Theros and Ravnica, those are both in the Magic the Gathering universe. So those are the same ones.
Yes, it didn't look like when we checked them, it didn't look like there was a difference, right? The only thing there was really a difference probably would have been the Tal'Dorei campaign guide, which not Tal'Dorei, the Exandria, which we're not to play with, so that didn't matter.
Yeah.
And Eberron, I believe the Eberron orc is pretty identical to the regular orc. It just doesn't have like the same all evil like lore that Faerun's Eberron orcs have. So like we never really had to be like, oh, which one of these are we gonna do? Because it looked like it was always like there was never any major changes to it.
Yeah, no, I must admit that's the sort of community around Eberron is incredible. And they're very they're probably like the friendliest cult I know.
That's fair.
Yeah, like I mean, like the amount of times of I've talked about, I'm curious about doing like an Eberron product, and the number of people who kind of come out of the woodwork going, Eberron, you say, just come join us, please. Come, we need more, and yeah, and in the future, I'm like you, I do have like an Eberron product. I don't know how it happened, and then I don't know, once it comes out, I may just be a full-time Eberron writer. But I guess
it's such a great setting. We had, so when we did An Elephant in Our Cat, Little Baby, we had like NPCs at the end of some of the sections so people could have something to read. And one of my favorite ones was a human NPC that was raised by the elves that followed the Undying Court. Like they found her as these two women elves found her as a baby, adopted her. The Undying Court was like, yeah, totally, you keep that child. And then she became a warlock of the Undying Cults, of the Undying Court. Yeah. And then had to leave to go find something that was stolen from them. And every time I go back to read it, I'm like, God, I wish that we could write books or short stories and put them on the DMsGuild, because I just love Eberron as a world and just want to be in it more.
That's a bit as well. That's such a cool thing, because I'm like you. I like writing characters and stuff like that, and that's why I kind of like that side of adventure writing, is because you kind of get to, it's like a story writing light. You get to say, oh, here's this interesting character, and here's this tiny backstory, and then you hand it to the editor, and that backstory gets a little bit smaller because it's unfortunately otherwise the entire adventure would just be nothing but backstories.
Yeah.
But no, awesome. So I guess so aside from some of this, An Elf and Orc and some of the other sort of collaborative projects, what would you say is your creative process exactly? So if you sort of sit down and start writing, what is your starting point?
My starting point actually is playing games. I love a lot of fantasy games, which is probably unsurprising given how much I like D&D in the first place. So I play a lot of Assassin's Creed Odyssey. I restarted it recently. Assassin's Creed Valhalla, Horizon Zero Dawn, RuneScape, God of War, that kind of stuff. Because it has a lot of it either has some really cool magic aspect, some really cool things that look like they'd be magical. So the abilities that you get for that you can unlock for Assassin's Creed Odyssey and Valhalla, or the actual magic and monsters and stuff that's in God of War. Yeah. And then Horizon Zero Dawn, even though it's more of a mechanical post-apocalyptic thing, it still has some really good stuff in it and technically speaking would be great for an Eberron setting. Yeah. If looking at it the combination between mechanics and magic and stuff. And then of course there's RuneScape, which is just a perfect blending of mechanical and fantasy. And so pretty much like if I don't know what I'm doing yet, a lot of the times I'll like pick up one of those. It's been a lot of Odyssey lately. I'll pick up one of those and I'll play for a little while, or I'll go and like revisit like a monster or something. So for example, I was a part of the Odyssey anthology.
Yeah.
I was part of the Odyssey anthology, and one of the creatures and like that island I made was based off of an island in the game. And like and like one of the monsters in there's the Teratios bull, I'm pretty sure, or boar, I'm pretty sure I'm mispronouncing that. Yeah. But it was based off of one of the legendary creatures you have to hunt in AC Odyssey. And I was like, oh, this would be so cool to convert it into here. And so definitely playing video games, because even if I don't get a direct idea from there, looking at all this fantasy stuff always gets my like storytelling, D&D creating brain going like, that'd be interesting. And then I'm like, oh, that's what I can do. And then it comes to like an outline, writing some notes down, maybe doing a little bit of research to see if there's any lore behind it.
No, because I must admit, I think that's kind of why games are like, again, they're kind of like the perfect medium for being like inspirational. Because in the case of like when you're trying to create content that's going to be in front of like a player, you are actively going through playing against, a particular representation of like, I want to do a dragon fight. How have games done like dragon fights in the past? And then it gives you the idea of like, now you have that sort of like visualization of like, it would be really cool if the players have to like run and duck under a particular bridge as these sort of like strafe of fire, or again, like Lacey kind of said, what's the name of was it a boar?
Yeah, it was a boar.
I'm curious as well. So like, yeah, and I must admit the all the sort of like myths and legends, just the sort of the what's the word for it? Stuff like how just like how mystical and out of this world they seem from stuff like that, and they were the sort of the tales being kind of shared around at the time. That you're just like, this is a perfect D&D adventure material, or this is the sort of thing I kind of want to be facing. Yeah, I guess is there in all your gaming experience then, is there one moment that you really want to try and turn into like but you just haven't had the chance to yet?
Let's see. Actually, so I've been playing RuneScape since 2004. And the character I've been playing, I've had since 2005. The account, at least. So like 15 plus years. And there's this like series of quests about a forgotten god coming back, restoring themselves and stuff, and I love it. It's like it's like one of my favorite quest lines. And I was always like, man, I really want to do something like that. Like I literally want to port it over into D&D. I want to go, part of me wants to just replay through it, but I'm like, I'm not getting all of my skills back up like that. Like that's not happening. But I'm like, I could sit down, find playthroughs, I could read through everything. And I'm like there were some really amazing story beats in it, like points where I'd be in a combat. And like, there's one combat for it that it took me 14 times to beat it. My hands were shaking. I was like adrenaline pumping after. I was like, I'm like, God, that would be an amazing combat to add to it. And like, I have not gotten around to it. I keep saying, I want to do it. But one of these days, like, it's probably not going to be like my debut campaign or anything, since I haven't really put any adventures out, but it's going to be one of them. And like, it's there. It's on my list.
I must admit, the only sort of things that I can, when I think back to my experience with RuneScape, is it's all fogged up with nothing but like picking and cutting down trees. That's all my, like, I'm standing outside of a bank. I've got an inventory full of wood. I'm about to go mining, and that's the extent of like the quests I can sort of remember. But no, yeah, and was it RuneScape itself has gone through like a number of like iterations, and the fact that are you still playing? Because I know they re-released old school RuneScape.
Yeah, no, I don't play that. I was there for a little bit of the older school RuneScape, and I was like, sorry, I don't like it. No. I'm firmly in the newer stuff. Like
the future is now.
Yeah, the future is now. Yeah.
So then I guess so once you kind of have your like idea and you kind of like you're going through the process of like formalizing it and putting it into writing, is there like a particular like standout favorite part for you?
The fluff. I love the fluff. So I have a bachelor's degree in public relations and creative writing with a focus in African American and queer studies. And I love the fluff part because I love writing stories. Like when it's like I said, I don't have any long form thing I want to tell yet in a campaign, but short stuff like doing lore behind a creature or doing like some backstory and like explaining how a character might behave for like an NPC or something.
Yeah.
Like I love it. I eat it up. It really just gets my like storytelling creative juices flowing in a way that like the more mechanical side of like the hard stuff doesn't really do.
Mm-hmm.
But still like I still like it, but yeah, the fluff part, like literally my favorite.
No, it's kind of I think like it's interesting hearing that like your favorite part is the fluff, but you spend a lot of time writing again the kind of mechanics side of things.
Yeah,
but I think you kind of touched on like a favorite point, the fact that like in the best case scenario, the mechanics should always support the story. As a fact, again, mm-hmm. you don't want to be people playing D&D and then suddenly they start the exorcism mini game.
Yeah,
know, it's like you want it to be baked in and sort of like what's the word diegetic in the the kind of the way you're sort of playing the game that doesn't feel too kind of out of place. And
mm-hmm.
I think it kind of makes sense of the fact that even though the blend kind of lends itself because like you're good at the mechanic side of things, and then you kind of again you have the opportunity to just like pop in a little bit of fluff, kind of support it up.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned as well, so obviously you had the human raised by Eberron elves. Is there any other sort of like fluff writing that you've done that is like particularly like a personal favorite?
Let's see. Personal favorite fluff writing. Oh, so I was one of the writers on Fight to the Top, which was a charity project. Like majority of the I think almost all of the proceeds went to like a Black Lives Matter adjacent organization, and it's pretty much about like the revolution of like the common folk against like an oppressive like government and whatnot. And I got to write like a number of NPCs for that, and I don't know what it is, but I really love like I think I really love like humanizing, but also othering like the bad guys and characters, and not so much by making not to say I make them sympathetic, but like you recognize this is a person. They're not just like a cardboard cutout villain type.
Like twiddling their mustache.
Yeah, like humanizing the like bad guys / the more neutral people. Mm-hmm. So like there were a couple of like people that are part of the government that I got to do some like backstory information on. And like also there was like one person who was like an overseer, and they were originally like part of the lower class, and they're like, you know what? Forget everybody else. I'm not helping anybody climb up the ladder. I'm getting what's mine, and then that's that. Mm-hmm. And like I don't know what it is about that story, but I liked being able to write that character to say like this happens, this is an actual person, like this is a thing. And then there was one other character who was, so the way the city was set up, you have the outskirts, which is like farming community that's like feeding everybody. Then you have like when you're in the city proper, you have like the dregs, like the very lowest ring where like if you're not a farmer, you're working in this like rundown part of the city. And then you have like the middle class, and then you have like upper class, and then the upper class inside of a ring inside of that. And so like the people that are on the outskirts are being looked over by this person. They use they them pronouns, and their family has like kind of been the de facto like leaders of that group of people for many generations. Mm-hmm. And so the players who like are either from the city or like come in and see there's a problem have an opportunity to try and convince that person to help them out when the revolution starts. But that person, there's a very big chance that person's just like, no, I don't think this is worth it. I don't want to put my people in danger. I'm responsible for all these people's lives.
Yeah.
there are people that are just like, no, I can't help you with that. I can't do that. I won't do it. But they're not coming from like a selfish place. It's like, I've got to take care of my people, and I don't think we're going to get anything good's going to come from this for us. And so that was also a very fun character to like write the mannerisms for and a little bit of backstory for and whatnot.
Yeah. And you can imagine, the sort of it's further implicated by the fact that like if this is like a legacy thing, like for generations, this person has kind of felt, and now to be them, in their shoes and stuff like that. It's like, for me, this is my dad, like, my parents did this, my mom, my grandma, my great granddad, I like that. And I must admit, I do like the, any sort of story arc that kind of involves like the sort of, the players going out of their way to seek aid or trying to get help and stuff like that, because it touches on like a good amount of pillars, because it's always like the kind of like you want to meet these people, you want to find out what help they can offer and how you sort of negotiate that sort of thing, which is again always a little bit more, it's sometimes more engaging than just you go here, there's goblins in a cave, or what have you. No, that's awesome. Again, I must admit, I really do like hearing about like people's like favorite parts of like a project, or like little things that they've kind of written and kind of thrown out there, because it's like, it's just like, oh, it's nice. Then to get the other side of the coin, then, so if your favorite part is the fluff, is there like a least favorite part of the project?
Anything that has to do with numbers. I'm so bad at math. I'm so bad at math. Like I am so like my my friend Taylor, who's also in my Saturday games, she is a spreadsheet queen wizard. She is, and so is like one of my former players from my Sunday game. And so whenever I'm like, I purposely had Taylor help me set up I will call and be like, hey, how does this formula work? How do I do this? So that when I put something in, I literally don't have to do any math ever again. Like I am so bad at it. It stresses me out. Even with all like options for like how to build out a monster, you can just input this stuff. Like the math still stresses me out all the time. And I'm like, God, I'm like, why am I doing things that involve me? That involve math? Yeah. And like everything I've done mechanically, there's some math to it. And I'm like, why am I doing this? I hate numbers.
No, I think you are like 100% right there, because Excel sheets, like people who are really good at Excel sheets, I don't know what else to call them if not wizards. Like there's dark arts going on there. There's
exactly. Like my former player Aubrey, who's also like my rugby little, we played rugby together in college. She made a player stat sheet for me, which like really streamlined everything. It had a bunch of like different formulas. So right now you can put in if you're proficient in something, if you're not, if you got double proficiency, half proficiency. And then if you put your number that you rolled in, it'll tell you exactly what the number is with all of the different skills. Like you don't have to add anything, like it's just there. And it's like made my life so much easier, made tracking hit points easier, made it easier for me as a DM. Like I was like, God, spreadsheets are a gift.
Yeah, and it's funny. Yeah, like I said, I think this is it's weird that this is coming up like more and more as I kind of chat to people that like, again, there's this like spreadsheet design is I guess like it's for some of these systems it feels like it just speeds up the process. Other than you being there with like sheet of paper, stacks of paper with like an abacus going, moving things across. Fair. And so I take it you mentioned there was what was the name of the one of the spreadsheets that you were using for was it an elf and an orc had a baby?
Oh yeah, detect greater balance.
Oh, fair. Yeah, we're live fact checking just to make sure that we're. No,
detect greater balance in Google Doc. It's amazing.
No, was it? I'm you know what? I'm gonna make sure I make a note of that, and hopefully it should be somewhere in the. Because that way it will be in the notes of the episode, and the people listening who are like, oh. Although I'm going to assume that the people listening, they do have the ability to Google.
But also,
yeah, I want to. My listeners are kind enough to listen, so I can go out that way and include a link in the description.
There's also one out there for like classes. I haven't used it yet. It looked good, but I have no idea what it's called. So people are gonna have to go digging for that one.
No, I mean it's like in like an extension of kind of spreadsheets is the two tools that I think I use without question the most are there is the Kobold Fight Club, which is it's just a fantastic tool to kind of get an idea for what a balance encounter looks like. Again, obviously it's the case of where it varies, and obviously like a party of like 4 barbarians may mince through one of these encounters, but you just want to have that leeway to be like, okay, I'm not gonna there's not a 90% chance that this is always a TPK. And the other one is fantasy name generator. Which again, I since I think I last spoke about it, I have actually gone and made a donation to that website because I use it so much. I feel like at this point, they if I can't give them royalty shares,
I should do that too. Actually, now that we're talking about it,
no, it's more the case of like and thankfully the creators of the website, you can see the fact they're not having like the pop up saying please donate, or it's very sort of subtle, but the effort, and I believe it's actually like what's the sort of thing? It's like community generated, some of them.
I think so.
It's like a combination of things, but I mean, I'm sure I'm already like preaching to the choir of the people listening. Like I've needed like 50 like elf names. And,
names aren't my strong suit. Like I will dig around to not have to name a person, a place, or maybe magic items are fine, but I will dig around.
Yeah, I mean, again, if I had my way, everyone would be called Keith. With like different.
That's Keith 1 and Keith 2.
Keith with like 3 E's.
Actually, it's just Keith, but you say Keith.
It's or just Kit. The H is silent. But in fairness, we joke, but we've just provided like 4 different names. So. Yes. So there you go, people listening. There, you can populate a city with 4 Keiths, and maybe your players won't quite catch on. My next question then, that we've get away from Keiths, Keiths to one side. We kind of like touched on it, but is there like a particular design choice, maybe more on the mechanic side, that you're kind of like particularly proud of?
Yes, actually. Okay, so like very proud of an Elf and Orc Had a Little Baby. Love what we did with that. However, that's a whole product. I was in scientific secrets of Icewind Dale, and so like I made this thing called the Frigid Doom, and it's based off a tardigrade, so a water bear, right? And like I was like, okay, this is gonna be cool. The Frigid Doom is gonna be like this blob of a monster with a bunch of tentacles that like have little like teeth on them, and when it latches onto you, it starts sucking the it starts sucking the life out of you, essentially. Right? And the way I made that in the game is that it would it would take it depended on your hit dice how much damage you took, right? Because I wanted the monster to be dangerous to every class, right? Because if it was just a straight it takes X D8s per level, a barbarian could technically shrug that off, whereas a wizard and a sorcerer would be like, I'm in danger. So pretty much what happens is when it like latches onto you, it takes, God, I can't remember exactly, but the formula is it takes XD, so for a barbarian, it would take, let's say it's 1 hit dice, it would take, if you failed the save, you would take 1d12 plus your, plus like the characters that it's latching onto's constitution modifier of damage, and then your hit points would be dropped by that much as well. Jeez. So regardless of who it's messing with, it's always dangerous because it's targeting you as like your actual hit dice.
Yeah, because I suppose barbarians, they're beefier, but I mean that means there's more I was going to say there's more juice.
Yeah, there's more juice. And like I really like that design. I was like, how am I going to make this like the question that I was trying to answer? How am I going to make this scary for everybody?
Mm-hmm.
Like I feel like I feel like there a lot of the times a lot of these monsters are only really really scary for like the players that can be like hit like 2 or 3 times, then boom, that's it. And then you have the barbarian who's like, I can take this all day. I got it. And it's no, I want everybody to be afraid when they're traversing the snowy wild with this undetectable, like if the creature doesn't move, it's just camouflage. Like it's pure white snow color. Like and like the second you get up to it, this latches onto you. Yeah. And so I also like explained how it would work if you had a multi-class character, right? Like that gave some like variation and options for the DM to decide how that wanted to work. But definitely that design choice of it's different depending on what your hit dice are.
No, I must admit, it's the Scientific Secrets like line of products is incredible. It's such a cool idea to take these, you know, the most like it's a weirdly educational product because you're flicking through all these monsters, going, wow, this is a gross monster, and you're like, oh wait, this thing exists in the real world where I live. I could feasibly go outside and have was it the thing that like shoots blood out of its eyes or what bears aren't they? They're very small, aren't they?
I think so. Like, I can't remember. I know what you're talking about. Like, I know them. I know what is the thing because I have all of them. I love them. But I like what's the name of this thing? But I think they are small.
Yeah, fair. Jeez. Yeah, that's the only sort of like silver lining is the fact that you realize it's like, oh, thankfully it's not, you know, the size of a horse or no, yeah, and yeah, I must admit, and yeah, you touched on like a really interesting point about it is kind of hard to have like monsters that are like universal threats. Because some of the creatures, again, there's the ones that like the spellcasters hate. There's the one that the melees hate, and there's the rare ones, you know, which outside of like, you know, like general like big bosses, who are just like everyone, no one's having a good time. the sort of like targeted, you know, it's clever sort of system. Then my next question then is if there were any sort of lessons, so over the course of like, you know, your creative journey, is there something that you kind of, you know, wish you could have learned maybe just a smidgen earlier?
Yeah, don't spend $300 on cover art when you're just getting started. Like, you never know if that's going to be it. Like, so my first product, like when I was like, yeah, I'm gonna spend like $3, $4. I'm gonna spend like, I don't care how much the cover art costs because I had a really good job, like the best job I've ever had, honestly. And then I lost that job, and I was like, damn, I should not have spent over $300 on that cover now that my financial situation is completely different. And also, like, I still haven't gotten a return on that. Like the cover art for Restless, my first project, it's like a little over $300, and like I haven't made that back, which I'm not like, I love. Like on the one hand, I'm glad I did it because I now have a relationship with that artist, and like I've gone back to them for more work.
Yeah.
But also like when you're just starting off, probably not like the smartest thing to just dive right into and invest, unless you are very, very secure in your financial situation and you're 100% sure you're not about to lose your job anytime soon.
Yeah. No, I think it is a case of like obviously the sort of increasing popularity of the DMsGuild over the, you know, past few years and stuff like that, is you've seen almost like, you know, the arms race of like the covers that you know are currently up in like, you know, the top 10 or like, you know, the top 50 and stuff like that. They're these stunning pieces. And yeah, the same with like you always feel almost like, well, I wanna fit in. I wanna have like a really cool cover and stuff like that. And yeah, it's a half balance. But what was the feeling of like when you first got like the cover for Restless back? After you kind of sent off your brief and you were just like,
I was like, holy shit. It was amazing. I was like, I'd never commissioned art before.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh my God, this is beautiful. This is perfect. You captured it exactly. You did exactly what I wanted. It was amazing. The best thing I'd seen.
Yeah, unfortunately, you know, it's just one of the things, and I suppose, you know, going forward is you have that art. Unfortunately, the problem with like covers in particular is they are very bespoke, so you can't necessarily like, you know, sneak it into another product.
It will be used again for Restless, the Redux.
Oh yeah,
but that's probably it.
No, I mean that kind of makes sense. Yeah, I'm curious, like with the sort of like the Redux version, is it going to be like, you know, like 3D I don't know, like what's the normal gimmick you do on like a re-release? It's like
well, what I'm actually planning on doing for the re-release is like anybody that has I don't know how I'm gonna figure this out, but I'll figure it out. I want the people who like supported me in the original one to get something good out of it. So like probably like a discount code or a free copy or something.
Yeah.
Like it can be like, hey, show me, like just send me an email, show me that you already bought this, and here's the coupon code for you. Just send it over here and you can have it.
Yeah.
Because I appreciate you buying my first product. So that's probably what it's gonna be like. Hey, here's a redux, all this new stuff. Plus, if you supported me before, you can get a free copy.
So I if you don't mind saying that, what's like some of the new stuff that you're thinking about adding then?
So obviously I'm going to take to heart what was in the review, that I should definitely give these creatures like more. I should give like the actual incorporeal undead like more abilities. I had a couple of like greater versions of them in there that like did a little bit more damage, but the baseline ones could also use some more love when it comes to an exorcism. Definitely more things they can do besides just possessing things. What's the word? I'm gonna have to go back over all of the swarms and because that was my first hand at really diving into like creating things like that, where I wasn't just using it on my players in my home game. So I'm like, I've learned a lot since then. I was like, yeah, that can definitely use some revamping. Also, I'm thinking like maybe some more like story hooks for DMs and stuff. Maybe some like player facing options for like if you want to have like if you kind of want to have an option to have this like let's say like an option like if a character somehow gets turned into this creature, a way to bring them back and a way for the person to play as that creature without it being overpowered. Yeah. Yes. That's probably what I'm thinking about. That's what I'm thinking about so far. That might change, but that's what it's looking like.
I'm curious. It's like off the top of my head, is there any way of like having like a peaceful exorcism, or is it? I'm not sure if there is that on the spectrum. Is always like an exorcism is.
Probably because like there are definitely spirits that didn't want to be trapped, that didn't want this existence, and then are like regular spirit, like they aren't really harming anybody.
Yeah, they're just
I'm just here. I don't want to be here. Please release me. Like definitely probably something that.
But then there's things like like Casper the Friendly Ghost. Like a group of adventurers like kick down the door going, we're gonna exercise Casper, and Casper's like, whoa, let's not get so hasty.
It's fine. We don't have to do this.
I'm super friendly. I'm so friendly. You know what? I feel like there's definitely an adventure hook there of like being tasked to like do an exorcism, and the ghost is just like super chill. The ghost is like, you can exercise me, but like I'm kind of vibing. Like this is
it's whatever.
So then I guess to start looking towards the the future and the community as a whole. Would you say like you have like a sort of particular like dream project or?
Yes. Big Book of Illithids. I love mind flayers. They're my favorite monster in the game. I love them so much that my friend Taylor, who's previously my partner, she bought me a small mind flayer dice bag.
Aww.
And then for Christmas, she bought me like this mind flayer print that I have hanging up on my wall right now. And like, I love mind flayers. I love playing them. I love being able to do like weird like noises when I play them. It freaks out my players.
Yeah.
And I really like what happens when you like take a mind flayer tadpole and put it into different creatures, like a purple worm or a shadow dragon. And I'm like, man, I want to do that for like everything.
Yeah.
Like I want to do that for a bunch of different things. Like, how would it change? What would it look like? What would happen? And like, I would love to just do that. The big book of mind flayers.
Yeah, I must admit they kind of touched on it a little bit with like Icewind Dale, like Rhyme of the they towards the end of it stuff like that. I was like, oh, his was it a gnomish mind flayer?
yeah. I'm like, what do the rest of the races look like? Yeah. What does a Dragonborn mind flayer look like? Give me more.
Yeah, I feel like again, there's got to be like a way of like doing like a system in place similar to like the there's the half dragon, and then there's also like the lycanthrope rules.
Yeah.
Of just like here is the you are illithid tadpole. But
yeah, I think what had happened if I ever get around to doing that is like all the races will have a template that can be applied to them specifically, and then the monsters will get completely different stuff, just wild and out.
Yeah, just because again, yeah, you kind of want like there's the balance of like you want to give the versatility to be like, okay, as a DM, I can add, I can turn anything into another thread, but then you could go, sometimes I feel like coming into contact with like a mind flayer dragon should be its own thing, like its own sort of like this is the worst, this like literally the worst.
Or mind flayer kraken,
mind flayer beholders, like.
Which they already have those, like for the regular one, like the Mind Witness. But like, I want to see what the other things do, right? Like, but seriously, the Mind Flayer Kraken. Now that would be like a campaign-ending boss, in my opinion. If it was like a greater Mind Flayer greater Mind Flayer Kraken with the mythic options from Odyssey of Theros.
Those mythic rules were incredible to kind of like have like the almost like tiered boss fights. It kind of lends itself to it. It's got a very sort of yeah, no, again that sounds like an awesome product. Again, in the distant future, I think it's gonna be in the distant future. Yeah. No, awesome. And then I guess you've kind of mentioned like again in having the chance to like work with Adam and obviously being involved in like the scientific secrets and all that. You've been involved with a lot of incredible sort of collaborations. Is there anyone in particular, or like a group of people in the DMsGuild community that kind of continually inspires you?
Okay, so I want to say that like when I read this question, I wrote down a bunch of people and then I reread it. I was like, oh, the DMsGuild community. Hold up a second. I like cast a wide net.
No, here's the thing. I feel like maybe you're right. I should rehear the question because again, there are so many people, influential people, beyond just the DMsGuild space. I don't want to limit it.
Okay. Well, then I will say I have a couple people. I have a list. I'll say it real quick. Okay, so of course there's Adam. Love working with Adam. Have done it continuously. Adam's like. I told my friends like in real life, I'm like, Adam's that one white person who like listens really well to marginalized creators, uplifts their voices. Like when we say like, hey, maybe this isn't the best idea, he takes it to heart and like does research and like it's like, yeah, I understand where you're coming from. Thank you for that. Like really great to work with. I love. You don't always have that like as a person as a Black person, like I haven't always met white people like that. And it's just really refreshing to have to like be able to consistently work with Adam because he's such a good like creator and person to be around as like a marginalized creator. But also Oliver Clegg, he does amazing work. His stuff is always good. He's like always like advocating for the queer community in regards to our treatment on the DMsGuild. And then there's Lydia Van Hoy. She's amazing. And then there's Orion Black, Gabe Jones. I can't believe I forgot Austin's last name.
I'm drawing a blank. Quickly to Twitter.
It'll be like Austin. If you're hearing this, you know that I'm talking about you. And then so many others. Like I've gotten to work with so many other amazing people because of like a lot of different collaborations and stuff.
Yeah, no, I honestly that is like hands down like one of the most kind of beneficial thing is being involved in collaborations is not necessarily the project itself, but like sort of things going beyond the project. The community, the contacts, and it's not always about the destination, but the journey and the friends you make on the way.
Yeah,
to put a very cheesy spin on things. It's always a case of like that question is always hard to segue from. Because it's always like, those are nice people. Mm-hmm. Anyway, I don't want to seem like flippant or anything about it. Moving on in a very smooth and natural way. What are some of the things that you're working on at the moment? And kind of secondly, potentially the more important question: where can people hear about it? Where can they keep up to date with your comings and goings?
Okay, so right now, I'm on a bunch of projects because I don't know how to say no, but them all done, so it's fine. But the big things, I'm one of the designers for Those Who Wander, a 5e backwards compatible system with me, Adam, and Amber Lipke. We are our Kickstarter fully funded. We're at $1,000. We're only 2,000 away from our last stretch goal. We still got 5 days to go as of like the 6th. This releases, it's going to be done. Yeah.
We hit the last stretch goal. It was a runaway success.
I'm also like getting together my own Kickstarter called the Crimson Gauntlets Guide to Disabilities and Neurodivergent Identities. And it's pretty much just like a group of us that belong to those communities, talking about our experiences and then translating them over either into mechanics or role playing for different tabletop games, so not just D&D, so that people that are playing all these games can like engage with our identities in a respectful manner. And like I said, like a number of smaller projects, like I'm converting some animal races for somebody like in the style of an elf and an orc. Yeah. I'm doing like a setting guide for Shimon. I think I'm saying it right, for like the Forgotten Realms.
Oh yeah.
And then there's something else kind of big. I'm not sure I'm allowed to talk about with the tabletop role-playing company, but that's all I'm going to say. Because I'm like, are we supposed to talk about this yet?
Yeah, no, it's always a case of like, my rule is if you think you can't, don't. I don't want to.
Yeah. Well, actually, let me tell you all the secrets.
Yeah, and then it's my job that I just like, just throw out. Or like, I have to put up like the sort of like a large thing of like this redacted or just like removed because broke 7 NDAs. And
people can follow me on Twitter at Vic the with 2 H's or on TikTok VJH Creations. I update what I'm talking like. I blog things and tweet things about what's going on, and like over on my TikTok, I talk about my different projects. I just finished a series called Tasha's Cauldron of Nothing, and I talked about like all the race issues in D&D and stuff. And
that's an awesome name for it.
Right. Like to be clear though, I loved it for the classes. I love the Rune Knight, but when it comes to the race stuff, it was like, I'm not satisfied here. No. But yeah, so either of those places you can hear more from me, and like probably some other things. Like I'm trying to get together my website. It's a mess right now, and potentially a Patreon. But for right now, the 2 places of truth are Twitter and TikTok.
No, fantastic. Yeah, I think it's always a case of like anytime you put together like a website or portfolio, it's like it's hard enough to kind of like put products together and put them out on like the DMsGuild or Throne. But then every time you'd like, oh, now I have to update my portfolio, or just have to. It never ends. So it's a hurdle. It's kind of nice to just point people in the general direction of your Twitter. But no, honestly, thank you so much, VJ, for taking some time to sit down and have the chat. This has been delightful. That's
been great. I loved it.
Yeah, we kept the energy throughout. It's fantastic. Honestly, it's fantastic to hear about the success of the Kickstarter and everything. And yeah, it sounds like there's a lot of exciting stuff on the horizon.
Definitely.
Otherwise, I have been Matthew Whitby. You can find me at Whitby Writes. For once, I'm actually ending the episode with some things that I've done. I actually have some products that are out and about that I can shout about for once. The winter drought is over. You can pick up, what is it? The Madame Eva's tarot cut.
Yep.
Madame Eva's Tarot deck of Friends, Foes, and Fortunes. That was a joy to work on. It is essentially a way of using the Tarot deck from Curse of Strahd and generate a bunch of exciting stories. There is also, again, I'm not, as of recording this, it is not out, but I am making a bet that it will be out by the time that this is released. You can find out the Oath of the Hurler, which is a paladin subclass based on throwing stuff.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah.
Sounds awesome.
Wait, did you think I was going somewhere else with Hurler?
I thought you were going to say vomiting. I was like, is this like a drunken thing? I was like,
you know what? In fact, this may be a reason. It may be rebranded following this discussion. Anyway, the Oath of the Guy Who Throws Things. It's exciting. Was it working with Kylander on that? That was a good thing. But yeah, that's where you can find me and all that good stuff. I'm excited to actually throw some things out. But before we can leave, the very last question, VJ, how do we end a podcast?
With a bad D&D joke.
Oh, do you have one prepared?
Yes, I do.
Please.
If the barbarian has 10 gold pieces and the rogue steals half of it, what does the rogue take?
5 gold pieces?
1d12 slashing damage.